What's up, guys? Welcome to day 7 of the road to 140 kilogram bench press. Today was push day, which is what we're here for. This is the workout that's going to have the main impact on my bench, and the exercise I'm focused on the most here is the dip. I've previously identified that my chest is my weakest body part, especially when it comes to the bench press. It's pretty much always been that way. I've always overhead pressed somewhere between 67 and 70% of my bench press max. Now keep in mind, I bench with a close grip as well. I bench in a tricep and shoulder dominant fashion, yet my chest still is a bit of a problem. Now, the interesting thing with these is that while in the beginning, so the first, workout or so with these, I felt a lot of chest. But today I felt the triceps in particular, and towards the top of these reps, that was kind of where I was failing, like halfway up / towards the top. I'm quite strong out to the bottom. I think that a lot of that is the front delt, but when you have to really drive your chest and your triceps towards the top, I just kind of run out of steam. And I was looking through how many reps I did today and realized it was worse than a week ago. So I did feel a bit disheartened, but then, I realized that I'm timing my rest intervals so that these workouts won't take super long. I'm resting around 3 minutes between sets, especially during one exercise. I might take some time between exercises, but in one exercise, if I'm doing 5 sets, I'll take 3 minutes between each set, which for me, since I'm used to doing just one set to failure and everything, doing multiple sets at all is just a different level of fatigue than I'm used to currently. Now, obviously, that will change. My body will adapt. One way it will adapt is I'll gain more muscle. So I'm looking forward to that part. Now, I also did another fail today. I thought that I was, I thought it was just a regular workout, and I completely forgot that I was supposed to test my max bench today. So hopefully I remember to do that in 3 days or so when I'm doing my next push workout. I'm going to make sure to remember to test my max bench, because if my max bench is at 115 or higher, meaning it's already back at, my previous all-time highs, I do believe it should be very close at the very minimum. I'm really in a good flow already. That means that having regained a fraction of my weight that I lost during my cut, having regained a fraction of my way back up to my previous heaviest weight, I'm already at my strongest ever, which means that I have many kilos to just keep building and making fairly lean gains. Now, obviously, this is quite a fast bulk that I'm going to do here. It's probably towards the dirtier end when it comes to weight, the speed of weight gain. And obviously, the muscle to fat ratio is going to be quite bad. But since I'm going to gain so much weight, I think the absolute effect of this bulk is going to be very positive. I'm looking for 3 to 4 kilos of lean tissue or lean muscle mass added to my frame, which doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it is. I mean, this time around, I was shredded at 77 kilos, which doesn't sound good. But, the next time I cut down, I'm not going to cut as far, but in theory, I would be that shredded at 80 kilos, which would mean, a completely transformed physique. I mean, if you put 3 kilos of meat on a table, that's a lot. If you put 4 kilos of meat on a table, that's a lot. Now, even if it's evenly dispersed throughout my 185 centimeter frame, so I'm not super short or anything, but so the muscle is going to be spread out a bit. But still, like every kilo I can add from here on out is just really, really good. And even with that knowledge, though, I'm not just looking to, put on a tiny bit this bulk. I'm looking to put on as much as possible, as fast as possible, within reason, but I'm going to go really hard. And I think you guys saw that on my leg workout yesterday. I mean, 5 sets of deficit deadlifts to failure, followed by 5 sets of reverse lunges, very close to failure. I mean, that's really grueling. And then you add the ab work on top of that and the calf work as well. I mean, I'm serious about this, guys. And I think that the results will come in due time. Right now, I've completed 1 week I missed one day. I missed this Sunday because I had some things to do. I was supposed to run that day. It was supposed to be cardio day, but I skipped that. So I've trained for 7 out of 8 days so far, which is why this is day 7 and not day 8. And yeah, I'm feeling good, feeling healthy, feeling strong. My fatigue so far isn't that bad. I think that I'm going to keep with this level of volume for a little while here, see if I acclimatize to it, and then maybe push it even further. But I think that this is quite a good level, probably a lot closer to optimal than what I was doing before. And if I'm going to add volume, I'm going to be really careful, because what I really want to do is add intensity. I mean, I know for a fact that some of the sets that I'm doing, I plan to do everything to failure, but I don't really do everything to failure. So I think step 1 would be to do everything to failure and to, really make sure that my rest intervals are short and proper. And make sure that I'm lifting solid heavy weights and I'm actually really trying in my sets. Step 2 is adding volume and adding exercises, adding movement, adding extra things. I think a lot of people have really bloated training programs where you have such a long list of things to do in your workout that you're not really going to try, because it's like if someone tells you, like, move these 1,000 boxes, you're not going to sprint, because you're going to move like 15 boxes and then you're going to be completely fucked, out of breath, and just have to give up. If you're going to move 1,000 boxes, you have to go at a slow, steady pace so that you don't kind of burn yourself out. And I think that that's the problem. A lot of people, they have like, okay, this is my chest day, I'm going to do 30 sets, and then they don't really take anything close to failure or do any sets with genuine effort, because they know that they have, after their 4th set to failure, they have 26 more sets, and they're just simply not going to do that to failure because they don't want to bury themselves. And I think at that point, you could probably save a lot of time and probably get better results by just doing fewer sets and actually, going extremely hard on them. And at the very least, training like 1 rep in reserve or 0 reps in reserve. And obviously, I think to failure is probably, arguably, the best way to train. I think that 0 reps in reserve and training to failure are both really good options. Obviously, that they carry injury risk, because you're actually really pushing. But at the same time, I believe that if you push your body to its breaking point in every set, you're probably going to press the growth button. And the debate should then be how many sets of that is necessary to push the growth button, how much is overkill. There are a lot of people and researchers who say that, anything with like within 5 reps in reserve is good. And, that can be true. I mean, if let's say you're doing dips and you're good at dips, so you do like 30 dips and you do 25, and you could have done 30 to failure, but you got 25 reps. I think that that's very different than doing a 5 rep set where you could have hit 10. Like maybe you can hit 10 reps on the squat with 130 kilos, but you do 5 reps. I think that is nowhere near the same as, doing 25 dips, 5 reps from failure, if failure is 30 reps for you. I really believe that we should probably be training very close to failure for most of our work. And even as natty lifters, as naturals, I think almost everyone watching this is natural. And for those of you on steroids as well, which might be like one person who watches this video, the same laws of physics and laws of biology applies to you. You just have a better recovery capacity, so you can use that kind of how you want. But I would venture to guess that a lot of bodybuilders and powerlifters alike, people actually on source, probably rely on it a bit too heavily. And maybe they actually could be making even better progress if they push themselves really hard. Now, obviously, being on the source gives you greater injury risk and everything. But I think that can be probably managed with fatigue management, exercise selection not being done. But yeah, I don't have personal experience here, but I do believe that a lot of elite bodybuilders probably could be training less and harder and, making better progress. But I'm not professional, they are. all I know is that for me, training very hard has given me great results this year. I mean, I cut my volume from, multiple sets per week to a single set per week per exercise. For a long while during my cut, I was doing half a set per exercise per week. I was doing bench press 1 set every other week, overhead press 1 set every other week. That was all the pressing I was doing, and I maintained almost all of my strength. Now, I don't think that that's because I'm really weak. I think that that is because if you train to failure, that's a very high stressor. That's a very serious stress. And even though your volume is suboptimally low from a research and exercise science perspective, I think that the volume from a set to failure is not the same as the volume from a couple reps from failure. And I think most people will agree. Doing a set of squats to failure is a lot harder than doing 3 sets, with 3 reps in reserve or 2 reps in reserve, depending on how many reps you're doing. Once again, if you're doing really high rep sets and you get 5 reps in reserve, that can still be really grueling, and you are technically very close to failure, even though you could do multiple more reps. That's kind of the thing that I had with my lunges yesterday. On my first set, I did 51 lunges with 45 kilos, I believe. The weight was a bit too light, and I just kept going and going and going. Maybe I could have gotten 60 reps. So maybe I was 9 reps from failure, but that was seriously painful and productive, maybe even more painful and productive than 1 single set of squats, 0 reps in reserve or 2 failure even. I would say it's somewhere in the same vicinity. But the basic rule of thumb is if your set is really painful and not enjoyable at all, and you really don't want to be there, but you push yourself and, it just brings kind of a bad feeling to you, I think that that's probably what you should be doing. At the end of the day, guys, we're here for results, most of us. And I think even people training for health as well, we should probably be training harder than we want to. And, if we push beyond our comfort zone, although we are in a temporary state of pain and discomfort, the rest of our life will probably improve around that training. We'll be stronger, fitter, healthier, and feel better. And everything else in our life is going to pale in comparison to the work we do in the gym. Nothing's going to feel, very few things in a modern life are going to feel equally as bad as doing multiple sets of squats to failure, Breakups don't have shit on doing like 20 rep squats to failure, at least temporarily. That temporary effect of being under that heavy bar and really suffering, I think that it's a great thing. I think most of us should, most of us need more of that in life, myself included. It's easy to say that I've been lifting for so many years, I don't get the effect anymore. Bullshit, Being under that heavy barbell, it's fantastic for our character and fantastic for our body. And, this is how we're going to stay healthy, stay strong, stay fit, and keep improving, guys. Remember that, a lot of times when we're not improving, the answer is to do more and to go harder. That isn't always the answer. But when in doubt, that is the answer. And that's what I'm doing right now. More food, more sleep, more training harder. And, kind of starting off hard, starting off at a serious level of effort and backing down, rather than, kind of starting a little slowly, creeping it up. And, at this point, I think in the beginning of this bulk, it's much better for me to just throw myself into a program which is a bit too much than, do a suboptimal amount of work for the first month and, squander the opportunity that I have right now, which is, probably 1,000 calorie surplus on a daily basis. That isn't something that you want to just throw away. If you're in that position, just throw all the training you can at your body, train all your weak points, train your neck, train your calves, train everything, because you want your body to just use as much of that food as possible to just throw it into muscle mass. And I don't think I will regret the work I'm putting in right now. I think I will be happy with myself, every single day today, since I'm training basically daily, is a challenge. Every single workout is a challenge. You know, these workouts aren't super fun. You know, I'm already in the flow of the pain and the grind. I'm already in it. But I think that that's a good sign. You know, we can't be going so hard that we get burnt out in like 2 weeks and have to stop. You know, we're not supposed to go that hard, but if I can maintain like a very uncomfortable pace of training the entire rest of this year without getting injured, you know, that's a tall task, but if I manage to do that, I will be way bigger, and that's the goal. So at the point, you have to kind of ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to get to your goal? And at this point, I am. So I'm going to keep pushing here and see where my body takes me. With that, I'll see you guys tomorrow on pull day.